Jetstar in recent years have received plenty of bad press, whether it be issues of flight reliability, delays, cancellations, lost and damaged bags, poor customer service, and the list goes on. Alarmingly, according to a recent S-Money survey, they even found it to be the third least popular airline in the world, if you were to believe what their AI bots trolling consumer sentiment out over in the Twitterverse is anything to go by. But really, is all this bad press actually overstated? Sure, I've had a few frustrating experiences with the airline myself, but that's amongst many dozens of flights I've taken with them over the years. So my first ever Jetstar A320 domestic flight review, before I put the airline to the test on a short flight up to the Sunshine Coast from Sydney for the purpose of later doing an ill-fated Bonza review, to find out what really the flying experience is like on Jetstar's A320 stalwart is like in 2024, and see whether Jetstar's infamous reputation actually stacks up in reality. Good afternoon and welcome to Sydney International Airport. We've just come up from the nation's capital of Canberra today on a Murray's coach. Took about 3 hours to get here, but yeah, this afternoon we're going to be flying a Jetstar on their stalwart Airbus A320 aircraft on one of their up to 4 daily departures between here in Sydney and the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Funnily enough, despite doing several dozen flight reviews on my channel now, I haven't actually covered a regular Jetstar A320 flight here in Australia, even though it's such a common aircraft being operated in Australia by Jetstar. I've actually reviewed a couple A320 flights with Jetstar in New Zealand, but yeah, this will be the first one here on the channel here in Australia. Anyway, as we have come in from Canberra today up on the coach, that means the bus has dropped me at the international terminal where I am now, up on the car park, the magnificent views there. But yeah, we do now have to transfer over to Terminal 2 domestic. So yeah, without further ado, we better now head on the T2 transfer bus and head over to the domestic precinct of the terminal. And yeah, let's get checked in and come join me as we fly up to the Sunshine Coast today. Hopefully it should be a really smooth and enjoyable flight. Before we do that and head on the bus over to T2, let's have a look at the flight information about today's route up to the Sunshine Coast, which Jetstar operate 4 times daily. So from here in Sydney, it's approximately a great circle distance of 835 kilometres to the north. Sunshine Coast is only around an hour's drive north of Brisbane. Gazetted flight time today is 1 hour and 35 minutes, but with favourable weather conditions we're going to do it in a little over 1 hour and 15. Now as we vacate the top of the 8-storey car park across the road from the terminal building here at Sydney International, please do take note with the interterminal transfer bus has now actually moved location here at Sydney International Airport. To be honest, I found signage of the new departure location to be a little bit poor. I went to the original area where the buses departed from and couldn't really make much sense. But yeah, I figured it out in the end. The terminal transfer bus now departs from the arrivals level outside of Arrival Hall B. Just like in Perth, it's practically impossible to walk yourself between the international terminal and the domestic terminals here in Sydney. Luckily, Sydney Airport do offer the free interterminal transfer bus. For your information, it departs approximately every 15 minutes between the hours of 5:30 AM and 9:30 PM. Alternatively, you can get the train, although it will cost you a very steep $8.50, which I think is an absolute rip-off for a 2-minute journey. But yeah, if you really are pressed for time, this may be the best option nonetheless. And just like that, after plenty of waiting around and not an overly comfortable ride, we made it to Terminal 2 nonetheless. Here at Terminal 2, you'll find check-in for Jetstar flights located on the right-hand side of the area. Do keep in mind, however, if you're connecting to or from a Qantas or Qantas Link flight, or indeed using the Qantas Club, you'll have to go over the road to Terminal 3. Check-in for Jetstar here in Sydney is a pretty seamless affair. We've got plenty of self-service kiosks where you can print off your bag tags and also check in if you haven't already. Unfortunately, however, if you do have bags to drop, you still need to visit a manual counter. There's many ways to bring up your booking reference, may that be putting in your name and destination, scanning your boarding pass, or scanning your booking reference, for example. Aside from that, it's just confirming your compliance with the usual aviation security requirements, confirming your agreement to sit in an extra row seat, as in my case today. And interestingly enough, they still have the usual questions about COVID-19, even though it doesn't seem to gather much talk these days. One downside about Terminal 2 here in Sydney for Jetstar is having to visit a manual counter to check in my bags. Quite a long wait today, with many passengers heading up on a Friday afternoon to various places around Australia. Only took a couple of customers in the line who didn't really understand their baggage allowance, which caused quite a lot of delays further down the line. Just like that, the hard part of today's journey, you could say, is over. The early morning start in Canberra today and the 3-hour bus ride up to Sydney Airport is out of the way now. We've transferred over to T2 domestic, which I must say was a very time-consuming, slow sort of process. Involved plenty of queuing up and a very hot, stuffy and overcrowded bus. It took about half an hour to get over the terminal. And yeah, once we arrived at Terminal 2, check-in was very easy with the self-service kiosk. However, unfortunately, bag drop is still manually attended. Now it's about a 20-minute wait to drop off my bags. Fairly understaffed at Jetstar today. Only takes 1 or 2 passengers who don't really know how to fly, and that just holds everyone up. Anyway, we're departing from gate 57, which is down the end of the terminal. Now let's go and check out our plane taking us up to Maroochydore Sunshine Coast this afternoon. Before we do that, let's have a walk to the end of the Jetstar area of Terminal 2 airside here in Sydney. While Sydney Airport doesn't really win any awards for design or comfort or anything like that, in my opinion, it does still offer pretty good plane spotting vantage points, such as from here at the end of the terminal building. Here we can see a LATAM Airlines Boeing 787 Dreamliner, also an ANA Dreamliner taking off to Tokyo. Let's now head back to gate 57 for some aircraft information about our ride taking us up to Sunshine Coast this afternoon. So it's very much one of the many stalwart Airbus A320-200 aircraft in Jetstar's fleet. Very straightforward history behind this one. It was delivered direct to Jetstar back in November 2008. This puts the aircraft at 15.6 years of age. Registration on this Airbus is Victor Hotel, Victor Quebec, Charlie. And just like that, boarding is called on time and on schedule for our ride up to the Sunshine Coast. Looking like it's going to be a pretty busy flight today, so I better join this rather lengthy queue that is waiting to board the plane. Despite it being quite a common occurrence for Jetstar, there didn't appear to be staff weighing any carry-on bags for today's flight. So welcome aboard Jetstar's Airbus A320 aircraft. For the most part, Jetstar's A320s have 180 seats across 30 rows in a standard free configuration, though there is some aircraft that do have 186 seats crammed in them. Seat pitch for regular economy class seats is pretty cramped at a rather standard 29 inch. Although today I'm seated in an exit row, so I've got several extra inches of legroom, which is much appreciated. Unlike Jetstar's newer Airbus A321 aircraft, there's no extra bells and whistles with the seats. There's no USB charging or in-flight device holder, anything like that. You do have a tray table, folds out and extends. Also got a little cubby there for your own personal stuff, and you also got an in-flight literature pocket and corresponding in-flight literature and the in-flight magazine. Aside from that, it's very much your usual black leather Jetstar seating. Nothing to write home about, but usually perfectly acceptable for reasonably short flights.
Locker. Check that your seat back is upright, your tray table.
So for the time being, what better time now to sit back, relax and enjoy our taxi out to the runway and our takeoff out of Sydney Kingsford Smith International Airport this morning. Once we're in the air, firmly cruising on our way up to the Sunshine Coast, then offer my thoughts and opinions on today's Jetstar service. Now that we're in the air, well and truly on our way up to the Sunshine Coast, let's first have a look at the buy on board menu with Jetstar. So everything on Jetstar is buy on board, absolutely nothing complimentary. So in terms of the menu options available here in Australia, you've got a good range of teas, coffees, soft drinks, beers and wine. You also got good range of sort of snack foods and that sort of stuff. In terms of more substantial options, the most you're really going to get is noodles, toasted sandwiches or pastries. There's select hot meals available on international flights beyond the realms of New Zealand and the South Pacific. As for today's flight, I've booked the Starter Max bundle. I do get a complimentary in-flight meal deal or voucher. Jetstar are always very vague as to exactly what you'll get on your particular flight. In this particular flight, I simply got a $10 voucher, which I simply exchanged for a Byron Bay lager beer. On longer flights, I've been known to get $15 vouchers. Sometimes, however, they do give you a pre-arranged snack and drink of their choosing. So it really is a lucky dip what you get. As I'm sitting in the exit row today, legroom really is no problem. Plenty of space to stretch out and be comfortable. It will cost you an extra $15 to choose if you're flying on this relatively short route. However, I got complimentary exit row seat selection courtesy of getting the Starter Max bundle. The Starter Max bundle is the most all-inclusive bundle that you can get for a Jetstar economy class flight. Whilst it is obviously the most expensive, I actually really do rate this product in terms of all the extra inclusions you get. For a start, you get complimentary seat selection for any available seat on the plane, so you could get up front seats, you could get exit row seats, whatever is available you can choose. In addition, you get a very generous 30 kilo baggage allowance, you get a complimentary in-flight meal deal or voucher, you even earn a pretty good dosage of Qantas points as well. The real kicker, in my opinion, is the flexibility that it offers. You can basically change your fare as many times as you like, just pay the fare difference, and you can even cancel your flight to receive a fare credit. So this is really great if you want to book a flight when it's on special but you're not 100% sure you're going to travel. This is a really great option for peace of mind. And just like that, if you haven't already worked out, we're well and truly on our descent into the Sunshine Coast Airport now. So what better time to sit back, relax and enjoy our lovely landing today. Once on the ground, I'll then offer my final thoughts and verdict on today's Jetstar experience.
Welcome to Maroochydore, where the local time is 1:07 p.m.
And just like that, welcome to Queensland's lovely Sunshine Coast. First time actually flying into the Sunshine Coast Airport, and we're up here for a very quick fleeting visit. We're actually here to review that airline that you can see over there to the distance right hand side of the aircraft. A little bit more on the purpose of my trip to review Bonza up to Darwin from here on the Sunshine Coast, and currently the sad state of play with Bonza. Anyway, back to my experience with Jetstar on their Airbus A320 and the experience I had today flying up to the Sunshine Coast. Overall, I thought it was a pretty acceptable experience. Jetstar, to be honest, while they do get a lot of bad publicity from time to time, especially when they cancel flights and they have delays and all that sort of stuff, when the airline gets you from A to B at a good price on time, it really is hard to complain on Jetstar. So to be honest, a pretty unremarkable flight to be honest, but an uneventful flight is usually a good flight in my opinion in 2024. Got me here on time, on schedule, pretty comfortable overall seat for what I paid, and yeah, I really appreciate the Jetstar Starter Max bundle, really appreciate the booking flexibility that it gave me. And for me, all the extra inclusions that the bundle came with were well and truly worth paying the extra for. And there we have it folks, welcome to the Sunshine Coast, and it is certainly a sunny day here on the Sunshine Coast. Hard to believe they had a couple 100 millimeters of rain only a few days ago. Yeah, back to today's flight with Jetstar up from Sydney on their Airbus A320-200 aircraft. Pretty satisfactory flight overall to be honest. What you paid for is what you got sort of experience. Yes, it's a no frills sort of experience, but yeah, when it leaves on time, arrives on time like it did today, and yeah, you got everything that you paid for, really hard to complain. Can be a little bit frustrating sometimes. Jetstar have been cancelled on at the last minute a few times in the past before, and yeah, it's quite inconvenient when that happens. Their alternative flight options often are not very good. But yeah, today's flight was perfectly fine for what I paid for. Funnily enough, I was only in Queensland only yesterday. I flew down from the Gold Coast to Sydney and then on to Canberra. But yeah, the main reason I'm flying to the Sunshine Coast is to try out Bonza on their 737 MAX 8 aircraft tomorrow night for the very first time. Fly here from the Sunshine Coast all the way to Darwin. Really looking forward to this flight. I think it's the longest flight they do, 4.5 hours, something like that. So stay tuned for that one on the channel as well. Can't wait to do the very first Bonza review on my channel. But if you have enjoyed today's flight review with Jetstar up to the Sunshine Coast, really appreciate it. If you could give it a like, leave your comments down below. And most importantly, whatever brings you to my channel. If you enjoy my flight reviews, train reviews, walking tours, aviation content, driving videos, hikes, whatever it might be. Really appreciate it if you just take a few seconds out of your time to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click that bell and notification button on so you won't miss the next one. Also, you might want to visit my AussieJetSetter Instagram page and Shorts channel where you can see some more of my short form content, seeing what I'm doing around the world in real time. Also got a Discord server for fans and community of the channel. You may wish to check that out as well if you want to discuss all things aviation and travel. Don't forget to check out the upcoming Bonza trip report as well from here in Maroochydore up to Darwin. And you can also visit my website AussieJetSetter.com.au for latest flight reviews, industry news, destination guides, frequent flyer hacks and more. So from here on the lovely Sunshine Coast on a very beautiful summer's sunny afternoon, thanks so much for watching today's trip report, and until the next video, thanks so much for watching today and safe travels wherever that might take you.